One of the most common mistakes that I see so many salespeople make is that they expect that just because they've got a meeting with a prospect, it's going to go incredibly well and that they're guaranteed to do business afterwards. The reality is it doesn't happen like that. In sales, we've got to work to make sure that those initial encounters we have with our prospects go really well and then can hopefully take us through to the next stage rather than trying to do business there and then. In this video, I'm going to share with you the points that you need to take a note of in order to ensure the meeting goes well and that you give yourself the best chance of doing business with that prospect in the future. My name's James White and I'm the UK's leading prospect conversion expert. Let's take a look at the video and see what are the key things you've got to do to ensure you get through to the next stage. So what are some of the key things you need to ensure that you're doing when you engage with a prospect for the first time or you've got that first meeting lined up? We all know in sales that first meeting is a really key one. It's one we want to get right, and it's important that we take the right actions to ensure that the meeting goes as well as we need it to. So what are some of the things you should be taking note of and putting in place to ensure these meetings go well? Point number one relates to research and preparation. I see so many salespeople that go into meetings with potential prospects and have done no research on them, they've done no investigation into who the person is, they don't really know enough about them, they don't even know what the person looks like. I put together a research profile, a prospect profile outline you can download on my website, which enables you to start to see more about the name of the person. You've had a look at their social media details. You've maybe found out how long they've been in their current role for, or what business they're in now, maybe what university they went to. You're in a position where you can do research on that person to find out what's actually going on, where they've been, what's key for them. So you're prepared ahead of that meeting. If you come unprepared, you're going to come unstuck because potentially you're going to have to show to the prospect that you're only concerned about you and not just them. So first step is this: do your research ahead of the meeting. Make sure you're prepared, and it's going to ensure that you get off to a good start, and it's going to help you and the prospects build that initial rapport and engagement. So the second point is you've done your preparation, you've got to the meeting, and you're in a good position where you're maybe a few minutes early but not late, ready to go and have that conversation with the prospect. So what are the things you can then do to really ensure that you make a great impression early on? Point number two, as far as I'm concerned, is to look good and be polite. And make sure you do this with anyone and everyone that you engage with in that company. I've seen and heard so many salespeople that have made the mistakes of being a bit discourteous to the receptionist or the person that they're initially meeting with or that have come to meet them, and then found out that person plays a key role in the business and they've got off to the wrong foot with them. Be polite, be courteous, smile, just say it's great to be here and try and build an initial rapport with that person, because you never know how the person that you're looking to engage with might then come and ask them, what did you think to that person? How were they with you? Were they polite, etc., etc.? Do whatever you can in that initial instance to try and get an understanding and build rapport and a likability with you and what that prospect is doing or what that company is doing. If you are able to do that, it means that when the person comes down to see you, you can then maybe reference something in their reception, or maybe say you've spoken to a colleague X and it was great to hear about that. It gives you an initial connection to build on, and those initial connections make such a difference when people judge you very early on in the process. So be polite, be kind, be courteous, be a nice person, make someone think, I really like them, they were great, I'd like them, I'm hoping that we're going to work with them in the future, or be in a position that they actually feel that you're someone they want to do business with. Do that and you're off to a good start, and you can make sure the meeting hopefully gets off to the way you want it to. Point number three, when it comes to these type of meetings, is to ensure you maximize the use of the time itself within the meeting. And this is where I came through to the point number three around clarity. Again, so many salespeople, the first thing they want to do is they want to rush headlong in and want to say to the person, this is what we do, this is all about me and what we're about. And actually that's the wrong way to start an initial meeting with a prospect. What you should have done in the early stages, maybe in your preparation, is sent them an email to be able to outline what the meeting is going to cover. But use this first part of the session to really go and ask some initial questions, build that initial connection. Maybe in your research you found out where they've been at university or which previous company they worked with. Ask them those questions and then clarify really early on in the process what time they have for the meeting and what they want to gain from this meeting. Ask a question such as, It's great to have some time with you here, Alex. Just so I can clarify, I've got an hour in the diary for our session. Does that fit in with your plans? And if so, what are the key things you'd love me to go through in this time to make sure I maximise the use of your time? The first meeting is not about you, it's about the prospect. And so what we've got to do is get clarity on what it is they want to get from this session, which is going to make them open up to you in the next stages and give you the answers on whether there's a potential for business here or not. So point number 4 of the initial meeting is all related to my favourite subject in sales and probably the most important subject when it comes to salespeople, and that's questions. Questions are the route to sales success. And if you've clarified the time frame and you've clarified what that prospect is looking for in the session, you're going to be in a position to then ask the right questions in order to get the right answers from your prospect to know what's happening in their world. Asking questions enables you to get insights into what's going on in the prospect's world. So maybe they've come back to you with a response of, we've had a real challenge with supplier X, Y, and Z over the course of the last couple of months. Maybe you can use the right tone and right question and say, I'm really sorry to hear that, Jack. Can I ask what's been the issue with the existing supplier and how has that disappointed you? So what you're able to identify is what's caused the problem and, more importantly, how it's disappointed them. What are their expectations? What were they looking for? Being able to ask these I call them the Kipling questions. What, why, how, when, who. One of the other key things you do need to do with regard to questions is also be able to do some basic, what I call qualification. Identify within the prospect conversations, what timelines are they working to? Who's involved in making decisions? What sort of budget have they set aside for this? And maybe you can ask the question of, how are you looking to invest in an area like this to solve this problem that you've got? People only buy something because of a problem or a want. And so use the questions that you ask to get a sense of what's going on in their world. And if you do that effectively, I guarantee you it's going to put you in a far better position to A, know if they're a fit, but B, then build a rapport to enable you to work with them in the future. Questions are the route to sales success. Ask the right ones. On my website, I've got a guide that you can download, which is 42 questions. Go onto the website, you'll see I'll put a link into the video here. Download the 42 questions and make sure you're equipped, ready to ensure that first meeting goes well. So the next key area, when we've engaged with the prospect in the right way, is to make sure we show that we're interested in them. How do we do that? We do that through our body language, through the gestures that we make, through the way in which we communicate with them, by not interrupting them, by letting them speak, both through using the right tone and making sure our body language is adjusted in the right way. Not by sitting back in a chair and lazing back and going, yeah, whatever, but by reaching out. Maybe if you're sitting down, have open palms and be in a position to engage. Making sure that you're taking notes. Have you got a notebook that looks good, or have you got a pen that's chewed by the dog? Do you look professional? Do you actually look like you've written stuff down? When people come and meet with me and don't write stuff down, it basically tells me that they're not interested. They don't really give a shit. If you do and you really care, it's essential that you write things down. Take the notes of what's there so that you can show you're interested in them and really make sure they realise that you're there, not just to serve your ends, but to help them. The key thing is be interested in them, show that you care, and it's going to help you build that rapport and put you in a great position to hopefully win that client moving forward. So the next key point, once you've got to the end of the session and the end of this first meeting, is to be in a position where you can thank the person for their time. And then finally, I'll put in here, is summarise. Summarise the conversation. Be in a position to be able to say to the prospect, look, John, I've had a really great meeting and really appreciate your time today. What I've taken from our conversation are a few of these pointers, point X, point Y, point Z, point G, and that this is an area you're looking to get resolved over the course of the next 2 months, and it's a decision to be made by you and 2 of your other colleagues. Have I summarised things correctly? By summarising things, by writing the notes down, by showing you're interested, and by summarising things down, you're in a position where the prospect can then either confirm or deny what you've indicated, and then be in a position where you can establish what happens from here. The key mistake so many business and salespeople make is that they have an initial meeting and then nothing really happens from it. There's nothing confirmed or concrete. But I always like to make sure if I'm initially with someone, I can say, look, I think we've really had a good session here and we've qualified there's a potential for us to work together. The next opportunity would be for us to do this, this and this. How does that sound to you? Give the prospect the opportunity to tell you what they think. And if that next stage in your sales process is a demonstration, get a date and time for that demonstration or for that next meeting. Say, look, I've really enjoyed working with you here, Philippa, and I've thought this has been a great session. Hope if you feel the same way, why don't we get a date in the diary for this next demo, and we can then make sure we help and see if we can solve that issue for you. How does next Thursday at 6 p.m. work for you, or next Friday afternoon at 2 p.m. work for you? If the person says, oh yeah, I'll have a think about it, I'm not sure, I need to understand, then maybe there's something that's gone wrong in the meeting that you need to clarify before you leave, so that you don't leave the session thinking it was all perfect and then end up chasing the prospect forever and a day when something didn't happen between you. If you've done the right things, if you've prepared, if you've looked good, if you've actually been clear with them about what they're looking to achieve and answered those questions. So make sure, again, within this part of the session, you've answered the points they've raised. You wanted me to cover this, this, and this. Have I covered that off to your satisfaction here, Paul? Have I been in a position where I've answered those questions? Yes, that's been great. I've really appreciated it. It enables the prospect to confirm those things with you and hopefully enable you to move things forward. So if you summarise in the right way and take down the notes, you can also then set expectations on what will happen next. I also encourage people to make sure you under-promise and over-deliver. Don't say to a prospect you're going to get a proposal to them by Friday if it's Tuesday and you know you've got 3 or 4 things to do before then. Indicate to them it's going to take you a day or so, a couple of days to get that back, and how does next Wednesday work? And if you can then be in a position where you deliver it by Monday, Tuesday, you've under-promised and over-delivered. But be in a position where you summarise the notes and summarise the conversation so you can move things forward. And the final point in this whole process to make sure the meeting goes well is this: follow up. Point number 7 is follow up. Make sure that when you've actually had that meeting, if you can, do it within 24 hours of the meeting. Send them an email, ask for confirmation, say, I've really enjoyed our session. Here's the things I noted. Here's the things that we agreed on. Here's the information that you additionally wanted from our conversation, and I look forward to speaking to you next Thursday at 5 p.m. Be in a position where you follow up, thank them for their time. They've given the most important thing that this prospect has given you is their time. So be in a position where you thank them for it and say to them that you've really appreciated what they've done. And by the way, if there's not a fit in this process here, then actually also be honest. From what you've indicated here, Alex, I don't think this is an opportunity for us based on what you've said. But I'd love to recommend you to X and Y company based upon this. Be in a position where you can follow up effectively, or even if it's a case of there's no fit, follow up and say, thanks for your time. Doesn't seem like there's a fit to work together, but we wish you well for the future. Never end this part badly. Never leave a prospect thinking, what an arsehole, or I didn't like her, she was terrible. If you do that, it's going to leave a bad taste in the mouth, and it will come back and hurt you later down the line. So look, these are my 7 key tips to make sure that first meeting goes well. I talk to so many people who are nervous and worried about that first session, and I say to them, if you take these actions, if you prepare, if you look good, if you're clear about what it is you're going to achieve, if you ask the right questions, if you show you're interested and summarise and follow up, the meeting will go well. You'll be surprised how you build and learn from those sessions, and I can assure you if you take this advice, you're going to become a better salesperson. My name is James White. I'm the UK's leading prospect conversion expert. Hope this has helped you. I love helping my clients work and make their meetings more successful, and I ensure that they've got the right frameworks and scripts to use. As I've mentioned on my website, I've got loads of resources, prospect profile outlines, questions, sheets that you can use that can help you get better results. So head on over to www.jameswhite.business and I'll make sure I can give you some access to some of my resources that helps you get the sales results you want. Thanks for watching. If you love the video, share it, comment on the sections below, and subscribe to the channel, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts on what you think you can do to ensure your first meetings go more effectively next time.